Many thanks for staying with us. It's still the conversation, and we have something very important, to talk about here in Lagos today. The issue of land grabbing remains a thorny challenge for property owners, developers, and prospective buyers. Despite the enactment of the Lagos State Properties Protection Law of 2016, land grabbers, popularly known as Omonile or Ajagungbale, still pose a threat to property rights and economic stability. Today we'll delve into the critical issue with two esteemed guests, Abdul Razak Olaiwola Onikosi, a crisis management expert, and Caroline Egege, a property lawyer. Together they'll shed light on the root causes of land grabbing and explore actionable solutions to tackle this menace effectively. You're both welcome.
You're welcome.
So, since we're going to talk about the property law in Lagos State of 2016, I think I'll start this conversation with Caroline. Again, could you explain the provisions of the Lagos State Properties Protection Law of 2016 and its effectiveness so far?
Thank you very much. The Lagos State Properties Protection Law of 2016 was enacted primarily to curb this menace called land grabbing. And most of the provisions of that law were to tackle the criminality that you've already foreseen. That is, it provided for jail terms, it provided for you not using force if you are the victim, and all of that. But the truth remains that at its enactments, it brought some form of respite. But as it stands now, we can't speak on that because it seems to have dwindled the potency of the law.
Okay, let me come to you. What are the underlying factors or causes driving land grabbing issues? Why is it that it's just, even despite the laws that have been made, it's still here?
Thank you, madam. Well, there won't be any incidents without the root cause. What has always been the root cause of land grabbing? The story begins from the family. There is a Supreme Court authority that says any land sold, without the consent of the principal, as in the head of the family, is void ab initio. Then there's also another Supreme Court authority that says any land that's sold without the consent of principal members is voidable. Voidable and void. These are the two things. You can imagine somebody that bought a land. That land's supposed to be, bought with the consent of both the principal members and the head of the family. Now, that land was unilaterally sold by the head of the family. There will be a problem. So the rest of the family, what happened to them? Assuming we have that family is a polygamous family, where we have each branch that constitutes that family as the head. So all of them, the consent of every one of them has to be sought by the head. And the land was sold by the head of the family. So the rest of the people will be aggrieved. And their grievances, if not addressed, that would be the beginning of the journey. So that is cause one. Now, are we now to say the person that innocently bought the land has not bought? Are we saying the head of the family doesn't have the power to sell? Then what happens to the aggrieved parties? How do you address their grievances? So what normally happens is when the aggrieved parties, whenever they contact or sit one-on-one with the head of the family, that see, why should you just go and sell this land without our consent? If the head of the family is somebody that is greedy and selfish, he will say, I have sold and I have sold. I am the head, and we have authoritarian leaders. Before you know, those people, if they cannot help themselves, they will resort to self-help. That is where the journey to land grabbing will begin. They will go to all these land grabbers, they come. Things that belongs to us has been sold by one person. How can we, get our right?
So this question should come to Caroline now. So how do you protect? What legal steps can you now protect? Can a buyer now use to protect this land from the land grabbers? And you have your receipt, even though you say, anyway, we'll get to that.
Okay. Well, he has rightly said one of the root cause of this problem, and I rightly align myself to his position. Now, the thing is this. A lot of buyers are uneducated. And I, for one, am someone who, whatever you don't know, whether it's property or something else, anything you don't have an understanding of, do not put your money in there. You can't say that because a piece of land was shown to you or someone that you respect told you that they are selling land, you just go and buy. You have to do your due diligence. Due diligence is at the core of any successful real estate investment. But where I am foreseeing challenges for unsuspecting investors is in the loopholes in our own land administration. I am a legal practitioner. I do a lot of real estate. So we've seen a lot of these challenges play out. Like, for instance, somebody contracts our law firm to say, okay, do due diligence for us. I'll give you a recent case study. Somebody was to buy a land at Abeokuta, and then because this land, they are not registered. The other time we talked about perfection. To perfect is expensive for the poor. So we have to be looking at maybe poor administration and all of that. You can't say that because consent, to register your property, you have to have some amount of money. And a lot of this family land that he just touched on, they are not registered. Because that's the beginning of, and that's another angle to the problem. Because they are not registered, you don't know the right person that you should be talking to. So most of this...
Are you trying to say that taking legal steps after purchase now is a bit dicey?
Oh, that is like trying to, as in, it has already, is like you doing what we call damage control.
True, yeah.
You are supposed to have done your due diligence before buying. So now that you have bought, you've gotten your fingers burnt already. So what you are now trying to do now is to remedy it. To do more damage control. And most times, that's what people do. They call the practitioners after they have paid. The practitioner can only just do the little he or she can do after then. Because you ought to have known the right person. Like he mentioned, if you are buying from the family head, if you knew that, if someone that is knowledgeable had advised you, you would have known that a family head cannot sell alone. And then, if you are now buying from the principal members, you should have known that that sale is void from the onset.
Okay, as a conflict management expert, for those who have got their fingers burnt already,
who are already victims.
So how do they get out of this if they don't want to go to court? Or they don't want to use lawyers?
There are many ways of getting out of the mess. It all depends on the form that the issue comes with. Like if the parties involved are somehow radical, as in they are violent. Yes, there are many ways you approach land issue. Like the one I treated yesterday, I treated one case. You can imagine somebody claiming to have gotten a judgment in respect of a land, a particular land. And my client, he has bought this land for over 12 years. He has even fenced around the property. If you see the fence, it has all this spirogyra, the fence has changed. Then somebody went there, he demolished the fence, removed the gates. You know that, claiming he has judgment. I say, you have judgment. Okay, no problem. Police, invite this man. That is a way of, that's an approach. Invite this man. There is a section in the Constitution that says fair hearing should be given to parties. That's section 36. Now, in fact, this man, listen to him. If truly what he has done could be justified, then we will release all the land for him because he has judgments. But if what he did is not justified, that means he has to face the law. My sister, do you know, when Omonile came yesterday, by the time we started, pinching into all these things, he said he could not produce the judgment, too. Because in every judgment, there must be limit and extent. Buyers must take their time, even after they have become victim, that, okay, judgment, they have gotten judgment, they started demolition. Take your time and endeavor to challenge them. Come, I accept you have judgment. This is my survey. Please write the Bureau of Lands and Survey whether that thing has fallen within the judgment or not.
No, most people are not even knowledgeable about what
you understand. Before you know, they will use the judgment of room and parlor to claim like the whole street. And that is exactly what happened yesterday. That guy started, I said, they could not bring judgment for 6 months. If not for the commissioner of police that said no, that justice should be done. That's a sitting commissioner of police. Justice, and at the end of the day, he made an undertaking that he's ready to pay. That was how we got justice.
All right.
Then, excuse me, again, there is what we call alternative dispute resolution. Parties can be called through, a traditional head, a family head, a lawyer or whatever. They can have a dialogue. Then from there, when parties are listening to, then from there you know who has gone wrong. Then when you know you are wrong, you will know how to correct yourself. Then there will be peace.
Okay, Caroline, we know that in Lagos State we have laws that are, guiding against this act, but again, it's still prevalent. So what are the key challenges in enforcing these laws?
Well,
or do we say there are loopholes in this law that these land grabbers take advantage of?
Yes, there are a lot of loopholes.
You want to
even in
contribute after her?
Even in older legislations, we are still talking about loopholes. Even in the Constitution the Supreme, So the thing is this. The task force, this 2016 properties law that we keep referring to, there was a special task force set up to implement it. The task force is still very much in existence. But the nature of the law, it seems more like an alternative to dispute resolution, which, if properly implemented, would have worked at the initial stage. Of course, I know they have a lot of success stories about, the implementation of the law and all of that. But I think what is lacking is there is no continuous review. You have to continue to check and review if the law is still serving its purpose. And then where there are loopholes, you make amends. You keep adjusting. And then for the J term, when an execution of the part of the law is made, I think it has to be publicized so that that's another way of enlightening the public that there's something still on. But now the potency or the hype, let me use that for lack of a better word, has dwindled. When it was just enacted, it was everywhere. So that enlightenment has to continue. That enforcement or case studies and all of that has to be in the faces of everyone. That will serve as a deterrent. Or now that maybe most of the cases that come up to them are from the rural areas, I am of the opinion, is a suggestion, like there should be like another body. Just the way a special task force was set up in Lagos, it could also be set up in rural communities like community registers. So that, like the case study I was trying to refer to earlier in Abeokuta, a survey plan was given. We kept on looking for the family name. We couldn't find. But if there are community registers,
you'll be able to trace it.
You'll be able to go to whoever has the community register and say, so this land is about to be sold. I'm not talking about one plot. I'm not talking about 200 hectares. So just imagine that we were not weary of it. We were like, we can't, because we are not able to trace this family in this village. And that was a lot of work. It wasn't necessary. So these are some of the things that the government should keep looking at. How do we fine-tune? How do we continue to improve on this law? And how do we make those who, like the task force now, how do we empower them more for better execution?
You wanted to respond to that?
Well, just in addition, that law that was enacted in year 2016, purposely to curb the menace of land grabbers, should be strengthened further. You know, it should be given, you know, backup, so that anybody apprehended, you know, contravening that law should be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted accordingly.
That's it.
I want to talk about community engagement now, and you know, collaborations with law enforcement. Can this help, you know, curb land grabbing?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, when we talk about, we're coming about relationship between, you know, the police and the community. There is a section in the newly enacted Police Act that held the hands of Nigerian police in issues regarding to land grabbing. And land grabbers have now capitalized on that, you should not dabble into land issue because it's a civil matter. No.
Okay.
Capital no. There's difference between pepper and distill. Both look...
But they're still related.
They are still related. Now, what I'm trying to say is, don't dabble into civil matter. Now, fine, land matter, they are civil matters. But what about the criminal aspect that the civil thing will beget? Like forcibly entering into property that does not belong
like
to
the
you.
one you talked about,
That is
pulling down the
that
fence
is
and
it.
taking
You
out
forcibly
the
entered
gate.
into something that doesn't belong to you without court judgment, without any justification. Why won't police, you know, come in? What is their statutory responsibility? They are to maintain law and order. Are we now saying because land is a civil matter, police will now fold their arm? That is one. Then there's what we call malicious damage. You understand? Malicious damage is when you maliciously demolish somebody's property because of your grievances. Instead of you to seek for redress in the court of law, you say, "Elowo ile yen." They will demolish it. Are you saying a salary earner or a widow who have taken her time to contribute, to save, and buy a property, you just, you know, throw him into an ocean? He or she, I mean, she cannot dream over, I mean, swim over. That's another thing. We have forcible entry, we have assault, we have malicious damage. It can even resort to murder, section, what is it, section 315 of criminal code. Yes, people die as a result of, you know, undue land grabbing.
Yeah.
You can imagine somebody whose land has just been grabbed. You will see him or her doing alone in his house. Before you know, the blood pressure is rising up. He will die silently. So that is why I want to, I mean, seek for the audience of the Nigerian Chairman Police Service Commission that they should give police free hand to investigate, to come into the criminal aspect of land grabbing. If not, people's life will be threatened.
Still talking about community here, what is the role of the ballets in all of this? Some say some of these ballets work hand in hand with this land grabber.
Yes, no, you are speaking. Yes, but you see, in life, we have good people, we have bad people. You know, we cannot use bad thing to qualify everybody. You cannot generalize.
Yes.
You understand? Yes, it happens. That is why I used to tell people that land grabbing thing begins from home.
Family.
An armed robber can never come into this place without an insider. It is an insider that will invite, either by style or by pretense or by content. I mean consent. That is when armed robber will come. So if one of the social theories said what makes a system to function is for the principal system to be firm. If it's not principle, if it's not firm, what's under him will not be functioning. So how can you say a land grabber come to your community and start levying mayhem on the people without your consent? You understand? So what you say, am I supporting that? Yes, partly, okay, and partly, not bet 80% supported.
Let's talk about the role of the judiciary in all of this now. And how does the judiciary ensure that there are swifter justice for victims of land grabbing?
How does the judiciary ensure that there is swift
justice?
Fasting the administration of criminal justice.
That's another, honestly, I think the judiciary has a lot to do in terms of curbing this menace. But then again, there is none of us that is not aware that the dockets are full. The courts is,
overwhelmed.
Yes, they are overwhelmed. The court system and everything. In short, every part of the society in Nigeria is one way or the other overwhelmed. But I think they can still do more. So as to preserve the life and then to preserve the interest of those who have invested. Like she rightly mentioned, for those who are pensioners, haven't worked for years, and then you see that whatever you invested in is being taken from you without any hope of you getting justice. And that is where I'm saying that the judiciary, they are doing, of course, when litigations or when matters of litigations come to court, they will litigate on it. But the time, litigation is generally referred to as being slow. So I am of the opinion that something should be done specifically in respect of this issue, in isolation. You shouldn't use the traditional court system that pertains to every form of litigation for this particular aspect of the society, because it's very dicey. Like I keep saying, everybody wants a slice of Lagos. And nature has not given us that opportunity. It's limited. Land is limited. And because everybody wants a slice, of course, the issue of land grabbing is more rampant in Lagos State. And because of that, this special task force was made. The same thing, I think the judiciary should, of course, but the task force is actually under the Attorney General of Lagos State. So it therefore means that it's one of the things that the judiciary has done to actually curb the menace, but they should put in more enforcement mechanism and then tighten wherever the loopholes are coming from, and probably empower the officers who are the foot soldiers so that they can deliver on it.
Okay, someone just sent this message and asked that you mentioned the special task force, that can you discuss the role and effectiveness of this task force, established to handle this land grabbing?
Their role is to take in petitions. Okay. If someone has become a victim of what we are discussing, first and foremost, you go by way of petition. You have to write to the task force to let them know what has played out on your piece of land. And then there are requirements that you must fulfill to be able to present that matter. Afterwards, they call both parties. Like you mentioned, fair hearing. Of course, they will want to hear from the other party. And most times, they are able to resolve it amicably. But where there is no resolution, the matter can go on to courts.
Okay, what are the responsibilities of real estate developers and agents? What role do they play in ensuring that they prevent fraudulent transactions?
I want to even find out all those real estate developers, once they establish, once they get these lands and they start to build on them, because some people would say they'd rather buy houses that have been developed already
than
buy an empty land. Are you saying that those who buy these houses cannot, fall victim of Omonile?
Well, the reason for that is because I think for developers, a lot of them, especially the ones that have been in the system for long, they've known how to go about handling this Omonile. So some of them would have crossed the hurdle of sorting out the major players, and then
I don't agree.
Okay, we'll come to you when you finish.
I just saw him shaking his head.
I won't come with a case study.
No, some of the developers have, you know, some of them have sought out the communities and all of that, depending on how long, like I said, you've been playing in the industry. So some of them have been able to, you know, sort out the relevant persons. And because they buy larger parcels of land and are able to fence it off. Of course, when you come, and as you know, the way land grabbers operate mostly is abandoned properties that have been left unattended to, or properties that they know that the owners are probably not close by and stuff like that. There's nobody that will come and meet you in a place where you have already taken possession. And you know, the fight will be fierce. But when they meet a bare land, it's easy to quickly take over and all of that. So most people just feel that real estate developers, because they have a large expanse of land and they have security, gatehouse and all of that, manning it, maybe their investment is safer. Is safer, not that is secured. They feel that, I feel that is the justification for them wanting to buy from real estate developers, but that does not mean that because you are buying from a real estate developer, you are okay, you are safe. No, at times
just low risk.
It's a low risk, lower risk. I think that's it.
I agree with all that you have said.
I will not agree.
Okay.
The reason why I will not agree with her is she's just speaking from one perspective.
As a lawyer?
As a lawyer. Me too, I'm a lawyer too. I'm a lawyer in training. Yes, I'm a lawyer in training. By next year, at least I'll be done.
Okay,
now,
you go to law school?
Yes.
Ah, fantastic.
We have spoken now before.
Okay.
So I'm his junior. She's my senior. So now let me just give an insight. Now, are we saying, you are saying somebody that buy from an estate, that's how safe he is. He may not be safe.
No.
Why he may not be safe is the law says nemo da quod non abet. Yes, non abet. She knows that you cannot give. There's no how you can give what you don't have.
Okay.
You see, that's number one. Number two, do you know when you buy land today, the person selling land to you who has his own mission. There's a case that say concurrence of intention or whatever, that person selling to you must have intention to sell. That's a Supreme Court case, you know. But if that person selling to you doesn't have the intention to sell, you might prepare all this paper, this deed of assignment, Porsche, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what will knock you down? He sold, yes, he has sold 2 plots to you in Ikeja. There is a loophole in that transaction which is not known to you. And what is that loophole is the real identity of the plot is sold to you. The block and the plot is not mentioned. Once the blocks and the plot and the family name is not mentioned, that is that land lacks identity. Do you know that that land sold to you, which you have even gotten certificate of occupancy, can be reclaimed? But because you will be taken to court and the man will be telling you that the land is sold to you is this place and not this place. Because at the end of the day, you have bought, you know, without seeing the layout of that area. The man will now come out with the layout. Yes, fine, I sold 2 plots to him. But the 2 plots I sold to him was in the swamp, not in the surface. Oh yeah, now how are you going to defend it?
How are you going to defend it?
And he will be claiming another relief. That part of his claim is that the court should set aside the certificate of occupancy. That certificate of occupancy has been obtained wrongly. Yes, you have defense for what he's saying. Left to the man to say that is what he bought. Okay, you don't understand. Left to the man to claim that, yes, this is what I say I sold to you, but this is what I sold to you. You are saying, wrong. This is what you sold. I now prove. Section 135 of Evidence Act says, he who asserts must prove. I am the one that sold to you. I am proving that I sold block 2 plus that. But it wasn't written there. But you are saying, this is where, no. See the layout.
So this is why you need to do your due diligence too.
Exactly.
You wanted to say
So
something?
At the end of the day, you see yourself in the swamp. Police self cannot judge it.
Cannot even come in.
Even the judge will be, his hand will be tied. They will be busy asking the defendant. They come. The man is the man that knows where he sold. And he's saying he did not deny the fact that he did not
collect money from you.
He collected money.
It's
He
the
said
swamp.
he sold. There was a transaction. There was exchange of money for blah blah. But he said this is what he sold, and he cannot give what he doesn't have. That is why I said Nemo that called, none abet.
You wanted to say something?
Well, we are, but his line of argument is very interesting. We are assuming, very interesting. We are assuming that you have done your due diligence, and then your documentation is in order. Because for you to buy from even the real estate firm, of course, you would ask for layouts. Except, but the case he is presenting now is. Somebody who bought blindly, like you don't know your plot, no identity. You know, you have to do your survey now.
Okay, so give us, what are the steps that must be taken
well,
to avoid stories that touch?
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly, it's not a one-size-fits-all.
Every transaction has its own peculiarities.
Yes.
Because when I give you now, I'm just going to give you like an academic, like, you know, theoretical something.
I am talking from
but
the
in
practical
practicality, you have to show us what you are faced with. Then we can now give you a tailor-made advice for your particular transaction. That is why, I don't know whether it was here, I spoke about giving people prototype deed of assignments.
Yes,
that is
yes,
it's not healthy. Every
about it,
transaction is peculiar. The conversation that I would have with you is not the conversation that I would have with him. So your deed of assignments and my deed of assignments, or your contract of sale and his contract of sale, cannot be the same. Like you just mentioned layouts now. Some people don't know that they are supposed to know the layout of a particular estate before they are even buying. A lot of people would have paid even before allocation, whether physical or on documents. So, but if you work with an experienced practitioner, the person would advise you that you have to know what the identity of the plot. And the identity of the plot ought to have been reflected in your deed of assignment. If not, the deed of assignment is incoherent.
It's ordinary paper.
It's incoherent.
Ordinary
It's as
paper.
useless as tissue paper.
Yeah.
So, Abdulrazak, just before we go, can this menace of Omonile, you know, these land grabbers, can it be eradicated?
I am a conflict expert. Yes, I'm a master of peace building and development.
Okay.
When you're talking about land grabbing issue, you don't talk about eradication. No.
What can be minimized?
It can be minimized through management.
Okay. Through
You can
management.
yes, you can manage it. When we continue to do the needful, as in, okay, this enacted law of land property law of 2016. If the government can, you know, straighten the law, give public orientation, let the members of the public awareness, you know, be there, then make provisions for them in terms of, you know, accommodation, welfare. They will be happy to deliver the best in them. Yes, that is what makes, that is responsible. That's from the government angle. Then from the law enforcement agency angle, the loophole that is giving land grabbing strength to go further is the police has said police should not dabble into land. That clause should be properly interpreted. As in, police will dabble into land. Land involve criminal things, forcible entry, assault, malicious damage, robbery, death, many things. Why will police not come in? And they will be taking advantage of police, newly enacted police that police should not come in. No, police must come in. When police fully come in into this land issue, I'm very sure that thing will be minimized. By the time they prosecute the principals, when Rashidi go, Kemi doesn't see Rashidi. Kemi will run.
Interesting conversation. All right, we thank you very much, Abdulrazak Olaiwola Onikusi, a crisis management expert, and our barrister here, Caroline Egigi, for sharing your insight on.
I will soon become barrister.
Barrister too. Yeah.
And our barrister in waiting.
We thank you very much for sharing your insights on possible solutions to land grabbing issues in Lagos. A lot have been said here today. I hope you've learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Just do your due diligence.
And you can
Do
avoid
your
a lot of yeah.
And please do not put your money in what you don't understand.
know, yeah.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. The conversation continues after this. Stay with us.
The views expressed on this program do